District 29, Pocatello. So this is Senate Bill 1240. The committee's fairly familiar with it. This bill updates Idaho code sections that address guardianships and conservatorships for adults and minors. I think I've mentioned to the committee that this is just an area of law I don't practice, so I don't have a ton of intimate knowledge about it, but I've learned a lot about conservatorships and guardianships over the last couple of years. When you think of a guardianship and a conservatorship, they both involve courts, and they involve people who oversee different aspects of another person's life. So think of a conservatorship as dealing with money and real property, and then guardianships, everything else. But they're court appointed. Courts have some involvement in that oversight, but they've appointed a guardian or a conservator to help somebody out, depending on the level of need. In 1972, we updated our guardianship and conservatorship laws. And then in 97, some states, there were additional updates that some states made. Idaho did not. So really, the last time we did major updates was in 1972. This bill, Senate Bill 1240, will make comprehensive updates to the guardianship and conservatorship laws. So this bill mainly makes changes to the Uniform Probate Code, that's Title 15, Chapter 5, and the care and treatment of individuals with developmental disabilities, that's Title 66, Chapter 4. It's an attempt to really implement best practices. Just over time, different states are doing different things, but these are best practices from around the country. It fixes problems in our current code, provides legal protections to individuals who have temporary or permanent need for oversight, but essentially it's an update. Who has been involved in the writing of this bill? Well, first of all, the work, this is about 5 years of pretty intense study of issues related to guardianships and conservatorships by legal experts, community groups. There's a lot of different organizations that have interest in conservatorships and guardianships and making sure they work right. But the team that I've been working with, Bob Aldridge, he's an estate planning attorney with 50 years of experience. He's done extensive writing of statutes in the Idaho Uniform Probate Code for 30 years, and he's presented those bills before the Idaho legislature, so he should be fairly familiar to most of us. Lisa Anderson, who represents the interests of AARP and its many members, and then Amy Cunningham. She's an attorney who spent decades in the specialized field of disability law, and she's the executive director of Disability Rights of Idaho. And you'll have an opportunity to hear from them today. I've mentioned previously that we've slow-walked this bill, and if you've ever done a big rewrite, the reason I think it makes sense to slow-walk these bills is because every time you think you've talked to everybody, you find out you haven't talked to everybody. And so each time we would get this bill printed, we'd have organizations come to us and say, I just heard about the bill, can I spend some time with you to tell you what our concerns are? And so we took time to listen to all those groups to avoid unintended consequences. And I'm just going to really quickly go through some of the organizations that we've dealt with, that we've worked with. I hope it provides, given 100 and some odd pages of bill, it'll give you some comfort that we've really done our homework on this, and that you don't have to worry about somebody coming up to you in your community and saying, why did you pass this bill? We've done our best to talk to everybody. TEPI is an organization that Bob Aldridge has worked with for about 6 years on this bill alone. It comprises over 70 persons and entities from a wide cross-section of Idaho. That's attorneys, trust departments, social workers, health and welfare, CPAs, and much more. We've talked to the taxation, probate, and trust section of the Idaho Bar. We've regularly informed them of the status of the language of the bill. The Supreme Court, specifically the Conservatorship and Guardianship Committee, we've had regular communication with the Supreme Court, thoroughly briefed them. They've had questions, of course, and some concerns. Basically, just so you know, one of the concerns the courts have had with the bill is they just don't know, is this going to increase their workload or not? We think it won't. They're worried it will. But they asked us for changes, and I think actually we accommodated them on just about every change they wanted, because we want to make sure this isn't a burden to them. One of the changes they asked for was they wanted a year to implement, and we provided them that. You'll see that as the last line of the bill. The implementation date is January 1st, 2027. That gives them a year to do trainings. It gives attorneys and other organizations a year to prepare for this. The Idaho Bankers Association, they came to us in actually last year. They're working on a comprehensive rewrite of their own of a different section of code. And they just thought, you know, it might be nice if we did them together, but they are still working on theirs. And so I don't know if we'll see that next year or the year after. The Idaho trial lawyers, we worked with the Idaho trial lawyers. They really didn't have any concerns. Idaho Department of Finance, nothing in the bill that would negatively impact them. Idaho Guardians and Fiduciaries Association, we've kept them apprised of what we're doing. Many of them are in that TEPI organization, by the way. Idaho Continuum of Care Association, that's ICCA. Bob has been on that committee and its predecessors for many years, so he's kept them fully aware of what's going on. It's mostly like medical providers and their attorneys. The Idaho Association of Counties, their concern they brought up early is they wanted to make sure that they wouldn't be on the hook for paying for attorney fees. And so we made sure the bill addresses that concern, and they've been fine with it, or don't have objections to it. Uniform Laws Commission, we've worked with them. Idaho Department of Health and Welfare Court and Crisis Team, we've been in contact with them and made changes as requested, in the Boise Estate Planning Council. So, Mr. Chairman, those are the things I wanted to present, and I'd like to just turn a little bit of time over to Bob and then Amy. They'll get into just a couple of details about the bill, and then we're ready for testimony.
Sounds good, Senator. Thank you.